Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday morning chat. I'm your host this morning, Robin Blake Mascari, and we have a special call today for a very special reason. And I just want to start out and acknowledge our Live Younger community because, Gregory oversaw compliance in another company, and we've been training you, for those of you that have been around, on what makes a compliant testimonial. And you guys have been amazing because a lot of people have never been trained. And so today we want to give a very specific training on what makes a compliant testimonial, the do's and don'ts, and how to share one. And we have two special guests today to support this process. And the first one is Dr. Barbara Jennings, and all of you know her from the Tuesday night calls. She generously gives of her time and wisdom on the Tuesday night calls, on the leadership calls, and on our Monday morning calls. So we're so grateful to have her. She's an amazing, wise being that we all get to learn a lot from, Dr. Barbara Jennings. And then following up after Dr. Barbara, we're going to get a modeling of a few testimonials from our very own Sunshower Rose. So let's get the ball rolling here. Welcome, Dr. Barbara. Uh-oh, you're on mute, hon.
There we go. Good morning. How's that?
We want to hear you. Yes, good morning. That's a beautiful necklace. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to turn things over to you, and we'll get things going here.
All right. So we want to talk about testimonials, and really I think there's two different aspects of testimonial training, if you will, that we should cover. And one is when you yourself are giving and sharing a testimonial. And the second is when you are asking someone else to share a testimonial. How do you give them some structure so they don't meander and tell their whole life story and take 45 minutes? Janet Kiefer shared a document with us, which is great and very, very similar to the one that I used in my office. And I'm going to pull that up. So in a nutshell, there's really four parts, right? First, why did they want to use a patch? Let's just go with X39, right? What are the reasons? What were the symptoms that they were experiencing? And if they didn't have lots of symptoms, like I didn't, but I still had reasons that I wanted to try it. Number two, how did it change you? Number three, how do you feel now? So it's how were you before? What happened? And how do you feel now? What's the result that you've experienced to this point? I like to add, would you recommend them to others? And then the last one, and this is where a lot of people forget or don't realize they need to get a person's permission to share. So if you're going to be using anything in print or anything in video, you need to get a written consent. No matter what. It doesn't matter if they're your best friend. you need to have their permission to share it online if you're going to do that. All right, so I like to say I actually have a paper, and this is what I use in my office, but we can customize it more in an easy to print form, I think, for LifeWave people. And it just says, please describe your symptoms when you decided to contact Dr. Jennings, right? Please describe your symptoms when you decided to try the X39 patches. And then you might also say, in 3 sentences, right? That really gives people the idea that, oh, okay, I'm not going to share my whole life's health history. I'm going to do this in a nutshell. And then what impact did it have on your symptoms? And Robin, do you want me to talk about symptoms? Or
yes, please.
I know that we hammer that in every time we have a meeting or a Zoom call that we don't want to use any diagnosis, and we only want to use symptoms. Now, a person with symptoms knows what they're feeling. They can describe whatever symptom they have. And I think a lot of times people may have had a symptom for a long time. They may have had a diagnosis for a long time. And one thing that I don't love as a practitioner and as just a human, I don't love it when people own a diagnosis by saying my something, right? We're not talking about curing anything right now, so I'm going to use the word, but a lot of people will say my cancer, my something, my diabetes. Like I don't. That has nothing to do really with these testimonials. I just want to share that because I don't think it's helpful in healing and recovery to own something that deeply.
I love that you brought that up. That is fabulous, because I even talk about our dog. I say he got a diagnosis. I don't say he has cancer. I just say
Right.
he received a diagnosis. So I don't want him to own it. And I love that you brought that up. Keep going. You're doing great.
Robin,
Good,
correct
because
me on that. When I had my cancer seminar, it's not my cancer. So I'm totally glad you brought that up. And it went away because it wasn't mine.
Because we know the most powerful tool we have for healing is between our ears, and we don't want to plant stuff that keeps what we don't want. Great. Keep going.
Amen.
Right. Yes. Thank you. And it's not really yours. It's kind of an invasion, right? Or it's a dysfunction. It's not what you were born with. It's not what you chose and bought and brought home. It's not yours. It's a condition that's changeable usually.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes. Okay. So what symptoms, and if a person is, so in my experience, when I've asked people to give a testimonial, unless they've done it before and have some experience, they really don't know where to start. And they're like, oh, sure. What do you want me to say? And so it's very, very helpful if you just give them, these 4 questions to answer. And it also helps if you tell them how many sentences they can use, because they're probably going to use more than what you give. So just know that. And that's okay, as long as, they just need to get the idea to keep it pretty brief, unless for some reason you want it to be long. So what kind of symptoms? I would probably ask the person how they describe their symptoms and say, that's great. Use that word. Or, if you have diabetes, what else can you say besides that? I have blood sugar, I can't regulate my blood sugar. I have a lot of inflammation, right? I have maybe an autoimmune pancreas condition, whatever those things are. But usually people don't have a problem telling you what their symptoms are because they feel them all the time. Is there anything else you want to add on symptoms? Symptom language?
No, you're doing great. Keep going.
Okay.
I think giving some examples to people is a great idea. Like you just did.
Example.
Blood sugar is a great example. My blood sugar not being regulated, it's off balance, whatever it may be. My joints hurt, whatever that may be. Keep going. Love it.
Well, do you want to give me some specific things and I could give more examples, or like
arthritis? How would you describe
if someone has arthritis, what would you say?
All right. So for arthritis, you would say I have inflammation in my joints, and it makes my joints hurt. If you have fibromyalgia, you might say I have a lot of inflammation and pain all over my body, and it's not always the same every day. What else?
Those are great.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So cancer is another one, right? So cancer is harder to to not use the word. So you can say tumor because that's not a diagnosis, that is a thing. There are diagnosis names for tumors, but you can use the word tumor. Other types of cancer, mutations, I have mutated cells growing in my lungs, something like that.
Beautiful.
All right. Okay, then I like to use the word compare because when people are listening to you, they're always thinking about themselves or somebody they know that's close to them, right? Or as a doctor, I might be thinking of my patients. But if you give me a before and after, I'm not going to spend a lot of time thinking about your before and after. I'm thinking about my experience right now and what I would like my after to be, right? So when we tell stories, it elicits thoughts of our own experience. We're not going to get all wound up in your experience so much. Okay, so we want to hear your before and after. So what were your symptoms before? How has it helped you? How do you feel now? Maybe how has it changed your life? Like what one of the testimonial videos on LifeWave, the last one, the woman says, and now I can run again, right? We want to know what's your after and what are you enjoying now that you experience from these LifeWave patches. And then would you recommend them? Would you recommend them to anybody else? And lastly, do I have your permission to use this in video, whether it's going to be on Facebook, on my website, if it's in print. And when you get their permission, you need to ask a couple things. Number one, how would you like me to use your name? Full name, one name, initials, whatever. And do I have your permission to either use your city and state or one or the other? And get that in writing with a signature.
And it could be, Barbara, I think if you got an email communication nowadays, would it be okay?
Yes.
And they respond, yes. I think signatures are hard to get nowadays because they're across the country. But I think as long as you've had it in print in an email from their email address, I think you're good to go.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I think an email would be sufficient. And
John was asking if you could describe your husband's rotator cuff issue. How would you say it?
Well, a torn rotator cuff isn't necessarily a diagnosis. So you can say he tore ligaments. He has torn ligaments and tendons in his shoulder. It's a torn rotator cuff.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
If you have a torn meniscus, yeah, you can say the cartilage in my knee is torn.
Beautiful. I heard someone wise say that if you name a disease, you're claiming it. So name it, claim it. We don't want to go there. So symptoms only.
Yeah, don't own
drill
it.
that in. Beautiful.
Very good. All right. I think that's unless you want me to expound more on that, that's the basics.
Great. So let's see if we have any questions from anyone. Heidi has a question. She's got her hand up. You want to unmute and ask Dr. Barbara?
Dr. Barbara, do you ever have in your practice individuals bring their pets? I mean, I know you're not a veterinarian, but I know that there's such a thing as service dogs. And one of my brand partners actually has a service dog. And I actually posted a story about her service dog and how her service dog had a change in behavior because of wearing X39, her previously worn X39s. And so I just need to know, is that permission for compliance related to pets as well, even though they're not human beings?
You need to get a paw print.
Record a woof. No, it's not, but I would, if you're going to use anybody's name, then you need permission. So if you were going to associate that pet with that person and their name, then I would, but the pet by itself, I don't think so.
Perfect, thank you. You answered both of my questions by be asking it with one compliance issue. You're awesome.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. And Michelle's asking, why can't we say torn meniscus? It's a body part. Is it a diagnosis?
I think you can.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think
It's a
you can say
condition,
that.
it's not a diagnosis.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just giving another example.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
if you, mhm.
And Mara Ava has her hand up. Do you want to unmute and ask?
Yes, hi, thank you. Barbara, do you have a template that we could, your template that you showed at the beginning? Or is that
Yes.
available for us?
Yes. So how about Gregory and I will tweak it so it's more, I mean, this one is specific to me and my practice. So we can very easily change that to be more specific to LifeWave patches. And then, you know, Gregory can disperse that however he would like to.
Be happy
Okay.
to. I know that Janet Kiefer gave a 4-point thing that Robin loaded up in Live Younger Facebook. So that's a good, simple 4-step program that
Yes.
falls right in line with what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And thank you for this because I'm doing an expo in April at a wellness center, a wellness expo. So I'm really, this has been very, very helpful. Thank you.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
Glad. Thanks.
And Daisy had a question. How can we follow you, Dr. Barbara?
Oh, well, I have a Facebook group or a Facebook page. It's Dr. Barbara Jennings at Health Summit Wellness and on Facebook. And I haven't been doing much on Instagram, but I am soon going to be doing a lot. So again, Dr. Barbara Jennings, and I think it has a picture of me in a, I don't know, either a blue shirt or a pink shirt.
Okay, so it's Dr. Barbara Jennings.
Dr. Barbara Jennings.
DR.
And on Facebook, it's Dr. Barbara Jennings dash Health Summit Wellness.
And Dr. Barbara, could you explain how your telemedicine, you know, your phone consultation program works with LifeWave distributors, brand partners?
Oh, sure. I've had a couple calls this week, actually. So you can contact me at info@Dr. Barbara Jennings, and that's just drbarbarajennings.com, no dot. And we can do either Zoom meetings face-to-face, or sometimes people prefer a phone call. So either way, I can work with people anywhere if they would like to do some one-on-one with me.
Okay, beautiful. Great resource. And I refer many people. So Gary Wagner, you've got your hand up. You want to unmute your line?
Yes. Okay, did I get it?
We
Yes.
can hear you, Gary.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Barbara. Nice to meet you.
Morning.
Yeah, I was just wondering, can we get it might have been covered already, but can we get a list of the 4 rules that you said for doing a concise list?
Yes,
Like
yes,
the
we
1,
will.
2, 3,
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
gonna get that written up and posted for everybody.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I thought you covered it, but I wasn't sure. So
That's
Yeah, it might
okay.
take us a couple of
Appreciate
days,
it.
but that'll
Thank
be
you.
coming
You're
soon.
welcome.
But we have Janet Kiefer's version already up on Live Younger,
Yeah.
Facebook.com.
And I think we should have a compliance section maybe in our Live Younger Success. So people have access to this link and the guidelines would be wonderful. Anyone else have questions for Dr. Barbara before we have Sunshower share?
I do, and I'm trying to figure out how to raise my hand.
You got, who's that?
It's Kira.
Okay, Kara, go for it.
Dr. Barbara, when I'm at an event, I have a very basic display, but one of the things I use is the actual X-ray from my shattered humerus. And, how, I'm not sure whether, because that's a personal one, I can actually show them the X-ray and show it what happened in 4 months.
You can. An X-ray is not a diagnosis.
Okay,
A diagnosis is derived from an X-ray.
okay,
So you can definitely show an X-ray. You can show before and after X-rays. That's perfectly fine.
okay, great, because that's what I have because of my shoulder. I shattered my humerus.
Mhm.
And the doctor was absolutely flabbergasted and said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it, and released me after 4 months.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I'll give you an example of what you can't do with an X-ray.
okay,
If you had an X-ray in your leg and it showed a tumor in the bone, right? You could not say, here's my osteosarcoma and now it's gone,
okay,
right? You can't say that. You could say, I have a tumor I had a tumor in my bone, and you definitely can show pictures.
okay. My second X-ray actually, well, they both show, no, the second X-ray shows the hardware that it's in that's holding everything together now.
That's fine.
That's okay.
Hardware is not a diagnosis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Show away.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, the before and after photos are more powerful than anything. And as we know in our business, and just a reminder to everyone, the teams that are growing the fastest use testimonials. Stories sell, information tells. And so learning to craft a very compliant, brief testimonial, and we like to keep them, 30 to 60 seconds is plenty. You can go up to 90, but like Dr. Barbara talked about, we don't need the whole story that led up to it. We don't need your family history. We don't need any of that. It actually depletes from the power of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It can help to share the pain points, like my husband's torn rotator cuff, right? It hurt. He used to do 100 push-ups a day. Now he can't do one, things like that. But I can say that in 5 seconds.
Beautiful. Short and sweet. Okay. Yeah. All right. We have Heidi, you have your hand up again. Is that a new question?
Yeah, it was a new question. I put it in the chat. So when you're referring to a scar, are you allowed to refer to why you had the scar? For example, cesarean or appendicitis, or is that not good to identify the word "my" with a scar and why it was a scar?
So you can't say appendicitis, but you can say my appendix was inflamed and painful.
So,
a cesarean section is not a diagnosis, it's a procedure. So you can say I have a big scar from a cesarean section. You can say that.
Okay. But any way of using "my" in relation to scar, is that compliant? Or is that referring to the terminology that you used, not owning it? Because it is your scar. I mean, are we getting, am I cutting hairs?
And a scar is not a disease. It's not a sickness or an illness. So that one doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I have a scar right here.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is wonderful to recommend when people are just getting started in good lighting, to take a picture of scars and their face in very good lighting, and then give it some time and take another picture with the same kind of lighting and show the after.
Yeah.
And Gregory wants to share, the general disclaimer. You want?
Yeah, I can say that, this is a general FDA compliant disclaimer that all wellness products and companies use. Our products are not designed or intended to heal, diagnose, or cure any disease. And that's why we stay away from disease names, like you've done such a great job, Dr. Barbara, in explaining the difference between a disease and a symptom. So that's why our testimonials, our compliant testimonials, are always symptom related.
Yes. And we have a wonderful example to share with everyone today. And if any of you want to briefly share, and we can, give
go over.
But it's okay, honey. We're fine. So I want to bring, thank you, Dr. Barbara. That was clean, clear, accurate, and very important for everybody to pay attention to. So Sunshine Rose, would you like to model for us a compliant testimonial?
I'd love to do that for everybody. So you've probably heard on some calls before, I was born without the ability to smell. Well, thanks to my sponsor in LifeWave, who introduced me to the patches, over a course of a couple of years, now I can smell. Well, that's pretty interesting. I always used to be able to say, well, God says that I can, do art and I can sing and write and all this, but you may not smell. And now I can't say that anymore.
In how many years?
Well, 73.
I think that would add some more power to your testimonial.
Mhm.
And, it's nice to mention that someone introduced you. It's not totally important, but it is valuable. Say, a good friend, thought this might be of support to give it a try. That's great. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Want to
So
give another one?
we have, you want to do another one for us, or do we? I know you.
I kind of wanted to just finish up. So people have assumed that I haven't been able to taste, but I have been able to taste. But what a treat to be able to now smell. Now I know if I have BO.
That's a nice benefit. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So we have time for one or two more if you guys want to be brief. And if you want to share yours and get some feedback, raise your hand and we can call on you. Anyone want to share and test theirs out? Let's go with Mara.
Okay, so I can over talk, so I'm really like on a learning curve.
Great.
So I had severe back pain from the bottom of my skull down to my lower back. And with the patches, I have no pain at all.
Beautiful. Now, how long did you have the pain, Mara?
2 years.
Okay, so you can add that in there. For the last 2 years, I've had pain from the bottom of my skull all the way down my back. And after using X39 for however long, the pain is gone. Beautiful, powerful,
Okay.
succinct, clear, compliant. You got it. Good job.
Thank you so much. Now, could I add, and this may be too much, that I couldn't walk, I couldn't drive?
Yes.
Okay.
What's makes it even more powerful is if you share the limitations that you had because of the symptom. I remember one of the most powerful ones I think I've heard that was so simple is I couldn't get down on the floor and play with my grandchildren. If you say things that touch people's hearts and they can connect with, and now after using whatever, I can get up and down on the floor and hang out with the grandkids and I'm liberated, So if you talk about the limitations you had that affect the quality of your life, and then now what you can do that enhances the quality of your life, you really connect with people.
One
Okay,
thing
so that leads me to one other
Mhm.
question. In the
Yes.
limitations, I pretty much exercise 6 out of 7 days a week. And so I could say I was not able to exercise, but now I'm able to.
Absolutely. That even enhances it more, Mara. Is it
Okay,
Mara Ava? Is that correct?
Mara Ava, but
Mara Ava.
fine.
I like
Yeah.
to say people's name correctly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to make one comment and thank you, Dr. Barber, for it. I think when you tell people 1 or 2 sentences, it's more meaningful than saying 15 seconds or less than a minute, because when people start talking, they lose track of time. Most people can relate to a sentence. So in a couple of sentences, describe how you were, what you did, and how you are. And it'd be hard for somebody to stretch that out over 60 seconds if they're only doing 6 sentences. So I think that was very, very.
I love it.
profound.
I
hadn't
love it.
Thought about that.
We're
I'm
going to adapt
gonna
that one.
Incorporate that into our trainings for sure. Thanks,
Yes,
Dr. Barber.
yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
and Darlene, you've got your hand up. You want to unmute?
Yes, I have one that a lot of people really ask about. And that is my husband had an issue in his eye where his vision was distorted and fluid was building up, and he got shots in his eye approximately every 8 weeks for 9 years. And we started wearing X39, only X39. And 3 months later, he did not need a shot in his eye. And it has now been 3 years this past November since he had to have a shot in his eye.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Perfect.
Again, clear, concise,
Yeah.
powerful,
Very good.
and compliant. Beautiful. You have another brief one, Heidi? Anyone else want to raise your hand if you want to sample?
Robin James.
I was
Oh.
actually gonna put it in the chat in under 90 seconds. I have 3 sentences. I'm a 52-year-old. I birthed 7 children. As of last Sunday, I no longer have scar tissue after wearing a patch for 1 year.
Wow.
I no longer have scar tissue in my lower parts.
Beautiful.
Now
Beautiful.
I can now do lunges in my Parkour style running every day.
Well, see, there you go. It's what you where your limitations are and now what you can do. Beautiful. We have Christina,
Mhm.
and I think that might be it. So Christina, go ahead, unmute.
Thank you. I'm driving, so I was trying to do this the right way. But anyways, my mom she had a leaky valve. And that's one that I've been really not sure exactly how to say it, but is that okay to say she had a leaky valve?
That's a symptom. What happened because of the leaky valve? What was there a limitation? What kind of symptoms did she have?
Well, the doctor told her that she would die if she didn't go get surgery. And that was in 2015. And she refused surgery. She'd already had 2 heart attacks. So she's like, I'm not.
We lost you.
Hmm.
Where'd you go, Christina? Come back. We lost Christina.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to have to hear that one later.
Robin,
Well-
I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
I know we're not supposed to say specific illnesses or issues, but when David Schmidt talks about neuropathy, are we allowed to say that since he says it, or should we still describe the symptomology of neuropathy?
Symptoms only.
Okay.
He gets away with that because he has the science and a study behind it that shows nerve regrowth, but we're best off not naming anything, even if David does.
Okay.
He's extraordinarily sensitive and understands compliance masterfully, and he can say things that we can't because he's got the science to back it up.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's a great clarifying question, Janet. Thank you.
Yeah, that's one thing that patches have fixed for me.
Isn't
I
that
wanna make
wonderful?
sure I say it right.
Why don't you share your compliant testimonial around that? What it was
Sure.
like before.
Before I had severe pain from my elbows down to my hands and my knees down to my feet that felt like those pins and needles when your arm falls asleep and is starting to wake up. It was very intense. And after wearing the patches, the X39 for 3 months, I noticed an improvement, and at month 7, the symptoms are gone.
Magnificent.
Hmm.
Beautiful job.
Thank you.
Beautiful job. Well, you guys have been superstars. Christina's coming back in. Let's see if she can finish up. Christina, you want to try to finish up? She's probably getting her. While we're waiting for her, Kent, do you have something brief? Want to unmute your line, Kent?
I'm back.
Yes, thank you.
And then we'll have
okay.
you, Christina, and then we'll complete. Okay,
Okay, I'll be quick. I'm always curious about my situation. I don't have any dramatic illnesses or anything. So long story short, I'll make it real short. I was a world-class athlete as a kid. I've stayed in shape my entire life. I realized at a certain point in my life, I was no longer able to continue elevating my fitness and endurance. And after just a month on the patch, which I actually felt day one, I've been able to dramatically increase my strength and endurance. And at 77, that was pretty remarkable. And lastly,
That is.
quite by accident, yeah, it was amazing. And quite by accident, not expecting this, only a month into it, I no longer need glasses except for the computer and reading. So it's amazing how my vision improved.
beautiful. And adding your years really enhances it. Like when Sunshower added how many years she couldn't smell at the age 77, we're giving people hope. Remember, that's one of the great gifts of your stories. If that could happen to them, it can happen to me. That's beautiful, Kent. Thank you so much for that.
My new goal is to live to 150.
There you go. Okay, Christina, why don't you wrap it up for us and finish your wonderful story?
Okay, where was I? I apologize.
Who remembers where she was?
We were asking, Robin, we were asking her to describe the symptoms that her mother had with the leaky valve.
Right. Right. Thank you for that, Michelle. Yeah. The doctor told her if she didn't have the surgery, she wouldn't make it, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. And my son's an actual doctor, so I called him and asked him, and he's like, Mom, people get old, things happen, you know? And she was 70 something at that time. And so we just, you know, knew it was a matter of time. And then we put her on the patches. Within months, her doctor did the exact same test and said that that's the way he said it. He said, leaky valve? Oh, she'll die of old age before that takes her.
Love it. Love
And
it.
she was 82 at that time.
Beautiful.
And now 84.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. And special thank you to Dr. Barbara for that clear, concise, compliant explanation of how to do a powerful testimonial. And like what I love what you're doing of, you know, a few sentences when you invite people to share and give them the structure, what it was like before, what symptoms you had, what limitations you had, what you couldn't do any longer in your life, then what patch you used for how long, and now what you can do where you no longer have those limitations. I mean, I was pretty sedentary for a long time because of both of my knees, and now I'm back being an athlete, you know, athletic again. And you know, that's huge when people, you know, it's like the frog in the pot of hot water creeps up over time, and we can change that. So a fabulous call, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing. And a special thank you for everyone in our Live Younger community for really honoring this. We do know the company's going to be having things be very different in the future because compliance is very important. And so we know that there's a lot out there online that is not compliant that's going to change. And so just so everybody knows, beautiful call today. And I think we are now complete. It is a little bit after the half hour, but it was very, very, very valuable. And we're just so grateful for all of your wonderfully compliant testimonials, everybody. Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Great Zoom. Thank you.
Great information, guys. Thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
day,
Great
everybody.
call.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Wonderful
one.
Zoom.
Thank
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
Robin,
Mhm.
Robin.
Yes.
Oh, hi, it's Martha Joe. I really loved the whole call today. And I have some, I didn't know if I should mention it or not, so I'd like to mention it now.
You know
Do
what?
have a moment?
Hold on 1 second. Let me just stop the recording. Okay.
Sure.
And you just